Okay, can you hear me? For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tara Wyckoff. For those of you in my 4 o'clock class, I see you. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited to introduce today our guest speaker, as well as the person who makes this series possible. So I'd like to share some thoughts with you. This is the 14th installment of the Bronstein Ethics Lecture Series. We've had some really great times together, bringing in some fantastic speakers from all over the country to share with our students the importance of ethics and integrity in public communication. And this Bronstein Lecture Series is dedicated specifically to exploring ethics in public communication. And it's made possible by an endowment by Penn Bronstein, who's joining us today. I'd love to have a round of applause for Ben. Ben is a 1961 Penn State alumnus and a leader and advocate for the ethical practice of public relations. He's been a fantastic friend to the college and to the university, so thank you. The Arthur W. Page Center partners with the Belisario College to host this lecture series. And you may not know that the Page Center is actually housed in the basement of Carnegie. So you can physically come visit Jonathan and others as they conduct research on ethics and integrity in public communication. You all may know the Page Center by the Page Center modules that we often do as homework assignments and quizzes in a variety of advertising and PR classes. But it is also my pleasure our guest speaker today. And so I'd like to introduce Giancarlo Pitocco, another friend of our college. Currently, Giancarlo leads AI adoption and AI product marketing at Convestro, a global sustainable material science company. We're going to learn maybe more about that. He is a leader in enterprise AI transformation initiatives that bridge technical innovation with a human-centered approach, something that we've been talking about quite a bit in various classes across the college. He is also a 2007 Penn State graduate. See, this is kind of how it works. You graduate from here and then you continue to come back and help us be the very best that we can be. Where he majored in communications and minored in IST. He is currently a professional in residence here at the Belisario College, so some of you may have enjoyed having him in class, where he teaches advanced topics on strategic thinking in AI. And he is also the advisor to the AAF advertising competition team. Ooh, woo, that's a mouthful. You're doing a lot. I hope we're paying you handsomely. Giancarlo is a recognized thought leader in technology's impact on business. And we are in good company. Not only is he here speaking to y'all, but he's also spoken and provided his insights at the World Economic Forum, TED Talks, Harvard Business Review, and Adobe. Without further ado, welcome and thank you so much for inspiring us.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. What an intro. Tara, thank you. Ben, thank you so much for having me here tonight. Jonathan, right here, thank you so much for helping to make this happen. It's a pleasure to be here. There's so much I want to talk to you all about because there's so much hype out there about AI, and it's hard to cut through and know what really matters and what's just hype that's going to fall by the wayside pretty soon. And so today, what I want to share with you are some insights I've learned from the real world application of artificial intelligence and getting people to change their behavior in the AI era to take advantage of the actual value of artificial intelligence, because there's so many big, bold promises made about it, and they don't always actually happen when you try to implement the stuff that all the hype machine is talking about. So tonight we're going to talk about something that I think is particularly important, coming from having been a graduate of the College of Communications and IST minor here, the role of communications in the AI era, and how I strongly believe that AI, to succeed, is going to require people with strong communication skills and a background in understanding that discipline on many levels, and I hope we can cover them all here tonight. My background is an interesting one. I'm one of the only people I know who actually has a career that followed exactly what he studied in school. Like Tara mentioned, I did information sciences and technology as a minor and ad PR and communication school as my major. My career has followed that pretty precisely. I have a background in some of the world's largest creative ad agencies and some of the world's largest technology companies. And I've always been someone who is fascinated by emerging technology. What is new and what can we do with it? How can I learn as much about it as possible and make it relatable to people who don't want to learn about that technology but would like to benefit from it? How can I explain it in plain terms to them? And I've made a bit of a career doing this. So if there's one thing you'll learn here tonight, is probably the answer to this question, but a lot more than that, which is why did a global materials science company hire a marketing guy to help with their AI transformation? Because we typically think of that as a bit of a technological topic. So lots more to cover than that, but let's get into it. I don't think you need me to tell you that AI adoption is exploding. ChatGPT, the leading AI platform out there, 800 million weekly users. This is unheard of in a technology that is that young. 1/3 of US adults are using it meaningfully multiple times a week. Our grandparents are using it. My parents in their 70s are using it and telling me about it. My dad uses it at work, uses it at home. It's really permeating our culture and the way that we live our lives in some pretty big ways. So we know that. You didn't need me to tell you that. But what's really interesting about this is that while AI adoption is exploding among individuals, we see studies coming out like this one from MIT that has pointed out that 95% of major AI adoption initiatives have failed. This is when a company tries to implement artificial intelligence into the way that their organization works, or marketers are applying it to the way they communicate with consumers. And this report identified a number of the reasons why it fails. And this really caught my attention because one of the first and biggest reasons they mentioned was the lack of AI adoption support. What does that mean? What is AI adoption support? Fundamentally, that is someone who's going to build the bridge between the technical folks, the engineers and the data scientists who are building the AI solutions, and the end users who are actually going to use the AI products that are being built. There's no one building that bridge, or if they're there, they're not doing it right. And one of the main fundamental aspects of AI adoption is clear communication to the end user about how to get value from something like artificial intelligence. And that seems to be missing from the way these large companies like mine are implementing AI. They're building the products and expecting that everyone's going to immediately recognize the value of that product and start using it. Who are my comms students here? Who are my ad PR students here? Yeah, okay. We all know that it doesn't work like that. You don't just put a product out on the market and everyone starts buying it. The same thing is true with AI adoption. You can't just launch an AI product and expect everyone in your company is going to start using it. And the technologists don't understand this. They think if you build it, they will come. And so this gets to the trust gap that we're seeing. Massive adoption, massive rejection. So what's going on in between these two? What is the conflict here? And I want to share a couple of stories, one from my own experience and one from the past that I think we can learn from, that helps show us the way forward and how important communications is to the AI era, which should give us all hope for career opportunities and career longevity in this era where most people are worried about AI taking our jobs. I'm going to begin with a personal experience from my role at Covestro. So Covestro is a massive enterprise, over 20,000 employees across the globe, major markets being the US, Germany, and China. Our global headquarters is in Germany. I'm based at our Pittsburgh headquarters, our North American headquarters, and I lead AI adoption for our region. We are a company of, let's say, 20 to 30 different departments or functions, so a lot of different domains of expertise. We have scientists, engineers, manufacturing experts, supply chain experts, salespeople, HR folks, marketing folks, you name it. A lot of people. So it's a lot of people for a company, but a small target audience from a marketing perspective. So coming into the company, I liked the challenge of driving adoption in a controlled audience, 20,000 people. What am I selling at Covestro as I lead adoption there? I'm selling a tool that we built called COVA, stands for Covestro Virtual Assistant. This is basically a custom application that we built on top of the world's leading AI platforms like Claude and ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and others. And it gives employees the ability to share any kind of proprietary information, confidential information, in a safe way with these major AI platforms. We built this layer on top because it allows us to stay current with the latest innovations without having to foot the bill of all that development ourselves while ensuring that security. In between the application and those tools, we insert access to our company knowledge base. So not only do you have access to ChatGPT, but you have access to ChatGPT that understands what Covestro is, what our departments are, what our different teams are working on, and our goals and priorities as a company. So it allows it to work smarter for us right out of the box. And it has a lot of the other powerful features of these AI platforms like web search, where if it doesn't know the answer to your question, it can go out and find it for you, all within this little chat interface, just like you're used to with any other AI tool. So I joined the company almost a year ago, and before I arrived, they launched COVA, and it's a basic chat interface, and it was built in the whole AI team that ran it and drove adoption. They're all technologists. They're really good at engineering, really good at data science, really excited about what's going on in the world of AI, and can't wait to tell anyone who will listen to them about it. It's like they're in CrossFit for AI or something. And so they marketed it from a technologist standpoint. So they built the product, they made an announcement, and expected everyone would use it. And the kinds of visuals they used to promote it were these super futuristic robot-looking things like friendlier versions of the Terminator, using taglines like AI is ready, are you? Putting the pressure on people to catch up and learn the way they had. And making big, bold promises like we see out in the hype machine of the media, like it's going to turn everyday tasks into extraordinary results. I don't know about you, but when I use AI to do pretty mundane stuff, I wouldn't say it makes it extraordinary, but it does save me some time. So they were making big promises. They were putting a technological, kind of creepy, futuristic veneer on something. They loved this. And you know what? It actually worked for reaching the technological enthusiasts inside the company, which in any given population of people is going to be 10 to 16% or so. And so that's what they did. They launched with this. And how did it go? Well, here's progress through middle of this year from when it launched in the middle of 2024. And you can see when they used this approach at first, the growth rate was pretty stagnant. And that's because it quickly reached the technological enthusiasts and then stopped. And they were just getting a trickle of new users at that point. And that's fine, you've got to start somewhere, right? What they were doing to try to help other people get on board was offer really robust, deep technological training on AI. 2-hour to 4-hour long sessions teaching you how AI works under the hood, what's a large language model, how does it compute results, what's the future of AI, how's it going to transform our world. These people just want to know how this tool can help them do their everyday job. They got stuff to do. They're not interested maybe in the future of AI and how it works under the hood. They didn't have anyone dedicated to communications and really figuring out what do we need to say to drive adoption and get people using this. That's where I came in. And a year later, after joining and implementing a communications perspective and bringing some strategy to how we talk about AI, we saw a rapid acceleration in the adoption of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence didn't change fundamentally in terms of what value it offered to our employees, but how we talked about it, how we taught them about it, how we shared the value of it with them did change dramatically, and we can see it in the numbers. 22x growth rate increase year over year. 30% of employees using it weekly, 16% using it daily. So it works, and I want to teach you a little about how you apply the marketing perspective and communications perspective to a technological challenge like this to make a breakthrough like that happen. And none of this is going to be rocket science to those of you that have studied what you have here. It starts, when you're rolling out one of these technologies, with understanding the needs and motivations of your target audience. And what's great is a lot of research has been done on this already. about what it takes to motivate different parts of a population and users to start using a technology. It follows a standard distribution, generally, of your tech enthusiasts who make up the first 16% of your user base. That's what we saw at Covestra. We rapidly acquired all our technical enthusiasts. These are folks that are just excited to try new technology. They're willing to experiment. They might not know how it's going to be valuable or if it's going to be valuable to getting their work done or helping them in their lives, but they're just excited to try it out and then tell people about it. And that's great. You need those enthusiasts. But the lion's share of your target audience are the early majority and late majority segments. These are pragmatists. They don't care about technology for its own sake. They care about technology that is going to add some meaningful value that is relevant to what they do in their lives or their work. And these are the folks that I call the pragmatists. They're not interested in the future of AI and your vision of it and how it works under the hood. They don't even think it's relevant to them in most cases. So how do you reach them is important to keep in mind. And then the laggards make up the last 16% of any new technology adoption. And this is full of a lot of different folks, but in particular, skeptics. And I'm going to come back to these three segments I have underneath as an important way to roll out technology from a communication standpoint. But I brought this to Covestra and showed them, like, look, I know you guys are part of that 16%. You've built this amazing AI. You're excited about it. You want to get everyone else excited about it too. But you know what? Maybe it's just not their thing. They don't want to hear about the future of it or how it works under the hood. Just the same way when I go buy a car, I don't need to know how the automatic transmission works in order to choose which one I get and to even use that car. I don't need to know which engine is under the hood. Does it go where I need it to go? Does it look kind of cool? Great, I'm sold. I'm going to get that car. That's what these folks are like, and they make up the most of your audience. So let's stop talking about the technology and start talking about the value. Because if you don't make that shift from a communication standpoint, you fall into what's known as the chasm in technology adoption. It's a chasm that exists between the tech enthusiasts and the mainstream potential users, because their motivations are so different. If the technology isn't showing value to them in very specific, personally relevant ways, the technology never really breaks through the mainstream. So at Covestra, we've kept a close eye on that as a goal in 2025 and beyond. Can we cross the chasm? Now, spoiler alert, we did cross the chasm. We're in the early majority, and it's because we made a big shift in how we communicate. We hit those first 16%, the innovators and early adopters, the tech enthusiasts, naturally curious people. They're willing to experiment. They don't need convincing. They were probably already using AI before we even rolled it out to the company. The messaging strategy Covestra was using then, which wasn't much, but used imagery like this and spoke technical terms about AI to everyone. It worked for them. That was great. And then it was time to grow and reach the majority. Well, my question was, as a marketer and a strategist, was asking the why questions. Why isn't the early majority using it yet? And we did some research to understand what the barriers were. And we uncovered two primary barriers. One, I don't understand how this stuff is even relevant to my work. I've worked here for 20, 30 years, I would hear from people. And what's this going to do differently for me? How is this relevant? And almost in the same breath, they would say, I don't have time to become an AI expert, which was really interesting to me because in my opinion, you don't need to know anything about AI to get value out of it. The same way you don't need to know anything about how a car works to be able to drive it. So most organizations get caught in this trap of marketing to the wrong audience. They focus on the technologists because they are technologists. AI programs are often implemented by people with a technology background, and they don't know how to empathize with an audience a lot of the times. We, as communications experts, particularly in ad PR, are taught to research and understand our audience. What are their needs, motivations, barriers? How are we going to change what they think, feel, or do about us or what we're trying to sell them? In this case, AI. And what our audience needs is something very different. Here's your problem. Here's how AI solves it. Here's what to do step by step to get the following results. That's what they need to hear. Very brass tacks. None of this AI vision stuff and it's changing the world and it's magical and hype. We don't need any more hype. It's got plenty of hype. Focus on some specific applications of it. Because when the mainstream users hear those kinds of messages, it's kind of like someone that wants to learn how to, kid wanting to learn how to tell time. And the parent explains, well, here's how a watch works. You need to know There's the drive gear and the flywheel and all this stuff. No, you don't need to know any of that. Just tell me how to tell time. Give me the watch. Get out of my way. Same thing with AI. Let's stop talking about the tech underneath and instead, how to use it and how it's relevant. So with some insights, with a background in communications, we applied a new strategy and shifted things partway through 2025, pretty early in 2025, to make AI more approachable, relatable, and help people understand how capable it was for things they cared about, instead of being all about the tech. And first order of business was giving it a face. Make it something you'd love to have hanging out on your desk with you, a little character that's there to help you at all times, like a more helpful version of Microsoft Clippy, something that you'd like. Something that's cute, something that gives you some feelings maybe about the AI tool, instead of it just being a chat interface with some creepy robots. So we introduced Kova, and Kova is this little retro future looking robot, something that looks familiar but also represents the future. So there's some comfort in it, but you also understand that this is something new. We put it in a lab coat to kind of embody the fact that this is a very intelligent tool, very intelligent character, and to acknowledge our heritage in material science. So many of our employees spend their time in labs doing research as chemists and scientists. And so something that nods to who we are and something that nods to what AI is in a really approachable and familiar way. So we introduced it almost as a new colleague who's here to help you out. Like everyone gets their own personal assistant. So we had a little relaunch party for Kova, and just gave it some personality and gave everyone access to a whole bunch of assets, imagery, content to help them embrace it and talk about it amongst their teams, because we know people learn best from people like them rather than hearing it from their experts. They don't trust AI experts as much as they trust a colleague on their team who's already using a tool like this. And we wanted to give folks like that assets to help promote Kova. And it's worked pretty well. We've had people come up with their own versions that look like them. We have Kova wearing all kinds of different clothing to represent different disciplines across the company. We've had people painted on pumpkins and put Kova on cakes and cookies and all kinds of things. So we made this big shift. So we went from messaging like AI is ready, are you? Or turning everyday tasks into everyday results, and forcing everyone to attend these lengthy, highly technical trainings, to a simple message that you already have the AI skills you need. If you can collaborate with a colleague, that's all you really need to know how to do, because working with Kova is just like collaborating with a colleague. And instead of big, crazy technical trainings, we told them, we'll teach you how to use Kova in 30 minutes or less. And we offer a weekly training where anyone can come and get started with Kova in 30 minutes or less. So it's not intrusive on their time. And we tell them basically, hey, you came here to learn AI, and guess what? You don't need to learn AI. You just need to apply the skills you already have. Let me show you 3 specific ways that I think will be relevant to you. And that's what we do in 30 minutes. And we coupled that with some campaigns to put the word out about this and help make that shift from the technical focus to the pragmatic focus and the value focus. And this is where you need a communications expert running campaigns, crafting communication, changing hearts and minds with spoken word and written word, right? So, we had a full blast. We do a regular newsletter. We appear on our internal podcast. In fact, our episode about Kova is the highest viewed episode in the entire history of the podcast. We now get invited to speak about Kova at our executive town halls to all the employees across the company. We had a big campaign called Kova Day, where we got people who were using Kova across the company to host 30-minute sessions to teach people how to do what they're doing with Kova. None of these sessions were led by anyone from my AI team. They were all regular employees, sales, marketing, supply chain, analysts that had found valuable uses, and we're going to show others about it. And that helped build the trust. Instead of hearing it from AI folks who are highly motivated to get you to use AI, instead you're hearing it from people just like you, using it for really pragmatic purposes. And that was a huge success. That drove massive adoption of our platform. And then we keep a regular dialogue going on with a series called Keeping Up with Kova. 30 minutes where we showcase the latest features and updates. We spotlight different valuable use cases that people have identified, and just create an open forum for people to share feedback and ask questions. So this is a marketer's solution to a technological problem. and it worked. We tested it first in the US, which you see on the left here. These are the growth rates we were seeing by region, 3 key markets, US, Germany, and China. The US was just running circles around all the other regions before they implemented this plan. And now they've taken that plan that we implemented in the US, and now we've made it a global plan where this is how we approach it across the board for every region, and it's working. We're seeing a massive increase in our rate of growth. So that's a real world example of what I'm talking about when I say that communications is perhaps the most valuable skill in the AI era if we're going to drive meaningful adoption of these platforms. If you want to make yourself marketable to an employer as you graduate from here, talk about your understanding of AI and talk about the specific ways you use it and it adds value. Show them you have some savvy. They need this, someone who can bridge that gap. You understand the technology, but you have a communications background, so you can speak like a human being rather than an engineer. And that's what we need right now. A metaphor that I like to use to speak about this is if we want AI to reach the mainstream, we need to stop teaching tech and start sharing recipes. What do I mean by that? This is the metaphor that helped convince the technologists at my company to embrace this new approach. I tell them, look, what you guys built is amazing. It's like you're chefs and you built the most amazing, well-outfitted kitchen with a pantry full of every ingredient to make any food anyone could ever want, all the tools, all the equipment, all the gear. And you're dropping people into that kitchen and saying, look what we built for you. You can make your favorite dish, anything you want. Go ahead, make it, experiment, get in there and do it. Well, look, I love food, but I don't know how to make my favorite dishes. It's great that you've given me all the tools and all of that, but I don't have time to learn that. If I did, I already would have. Can you just give me a recipe so I can pick exactly which ingredients I need and pick the tools that I need and show me step by step how to do it? That's what people actually need in the mainstream. They just want some recipes. Give me 1, 2, or 3 very specific applications of this technology that are relevant to me, and then I'll consider starting to use it in my daily work. So that kind of metaphor shifts. We have to make a mindset shift because people think AI is too hard to learn and it's not relevant to them. What I see inside of Covestro is what I hear out in the wild all the time. This isn't the first time we've seen this either. I always try to look for historical reference points to understand how technology is changing us and what it means for us in the future. And I think AI certainly stretches the ability to find historical reference points, but the internet revolution that we went through in the 90s does parallel a lot of the challenges and situations that we find ourselves in right now with AI. I want to share a little example, a little case study from back then that I think will give us some context for what we're going through right now and help us start asking smarter questions and making smarter decisions as we try to see through the hype machine around AI and start to focus on what really matters. So let's travel back in time to the mid-90s. I want to give you a little taste of what people were talking about and thinking about back then.
Just what is this main artery of the information superhighway?
Every business, no matter how large, no matter how small, will be on the internet in the year 2000. It's the primary way that people will look up information. It will replace the yellow pages as we know it today.
Are a lot of people just getting on to the internet because they feel that they have to get out of the playing field, so to speak?
But it's very hip to be on the internet right now. That little mark with the A and then the ring around it. See, that's what I said. Katie said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
But I've never heard it. I've never heard it said. I've always seen the mark, but never heard it said. And then it sounded stupid when I said it. Violence at NBC.
I heard it around or about in the Western Union.
See, there it is. Violence at NBC, GE.com. I mean,
Well, Allison should know.
what is internet anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming.
So that's where things were in the early to mid-90s. The internet, we were talking about it a lot in the same way as we talk about AI today. There's a lot of confusion. What's the difference between ChatGPT? What's an LLM? What's prompt engineering? What is all this stuff? They didn't even know what an email address was. They didn't even recognize an @ sign back then. Companies then were asking questions like, what's our internet strategy going to be? Which sounds like an absurd question today. But we're asking the same question now, what is our AI strategy? That's as broad and vague as saying, what's our electricity strategy? What is our plumbing strategy? These technologies are the kind that become kind of like infrastructure, utilities behind the scenes, and they're going to empower specific applications of that technology built on top of it. So we're still in the early days like we were with the internet. And consumers were struggling with the same thing that we see today with adoption. Everyone wants to be on the internet, but only a few can figure out how to do it. And what was the gateway to the internet? Well, it was having a personal computer at home, which was still not exactly common at that point. And once you have a personal computer, how do you get online after that? You had to buy a modem, you had to get special software. We didn't have browsers installed back then. And if you didn't have a computer yet and you wanted to get on the internet, here's the kind of messaging you were hearing about getting in on the PC revolution.
Precision engineering. Performance that nails you to your seat. But enough about the high-performance computers Dell built for Ford. What can we build yours to do? Call now, and for just $24.99, we'll build you this Dell Dimension XPS with a 233 megahertz Intel Pentium processor with MMX technology, 32 megs of SD RAM, a 3.2 gig hard drive with Microsoft Office Small Business Edition, a large screen monitor, 24x variable CD-ROM, even a Matrox Millennium video card, and 24-hour tech support. The Dell Dimension XPS with a 233 megahertz Intel Pentium processor with MMX. Pure performance for just $24.99. Dell, what can we build yours to do?
So this is what happens when technologists are running the show. Most people didn't know a fraction of what that announcer was talking about in that commercial. Megahertz and RAM and all that crap. They don't know what any of that means, but it's what they need in order to get online. So you have this tension where people want to get in on this internet revolution. It sounds magical, but the technological barrier sounds pretty high. Well, that's where we are with AI right now, it seems like, where there's a lot of people talking about the technological parts of it, but not helping us build the bridge and get there. And someone stepped up and did this in the late 90s. Apple stepped up and helped build that bridge. And I think we can learn a lot about what they did back then today. So Apple, if you're not aware, was almost out of business in 1997. They were weeks away from bankruptcy. They had just fired 2 CEOs. And the public knew this. They knew they were swirling the drain and about to go out of business. And people were kind of sad about it. They had one chance to throw a Hail Mary to come back to life pretty much. And they hired Steve Jobs to help them do that. And he came up with a product that really helped make the difference and capitalize on that tension in the marketplace between high technological barrier to something that people were interested in getting in on. And marketing strategy is what really saved the day here. We had this complicated landscape. Computers seem difficult to use. You need all this tech knowledge to hook them up and get online. You have people really excited about the internet, wanting to get there, but worried they're never going to be able to figure it out. Apple launched a product with a marketing campaign. By the way, the computer was no different than any other computer, just looked a little cuter, but it worked just like every other computer. But the marketing message around it positioned it as the easiest way to get online in the 90s. And I want to show you how they did this because it was so masterful and so unlike anything that had been done before from a marketing standpoint. So here's one of the hero commercials for it.
Presenting 3 easy steps to the internet. Step 1, plug in. Step 2, get connected. Step 3, there's no step 3. There's no step 3.
Think about that Dell commercial we just watched. Could it be any different, any more different than that? I mean, probably a quarter of the words, maybe even less, were spoken compared to the other one. Not a single technological term, other than the one that everyone knew, which is get online, the internet, the thing that people want. 2 steps to get there. The next ad they did got even better. Watch this. Not a single word spoken in that one. Entirely done through the ambient sounds. They got the message across. So 2 ads. First one showing easiest way to get online. 3 steps, actually it's 2 steps. Super easy. Second ad, this is going to be a much less complicated experience from a PC perspective. Get ready for an entirely new PC experience. So these ads, and there were a whole bunch more of them, targeted exactly the pain points and aspirations of the audience. And the campaign went wild. Everyone loved it. They had a bunch of different ways to express this idea and reach different audiences. This one was in LA. Some of the out-of-home they did, chic, not geek. And then they did an online campaign using their website, a bunch of different marketing around this, and some early days of multimedia. Back in 1998, having that animated iMac up front. Pretty cute. And look, you can see how they're positioning their products. You know, Pro, Go, and Whoa. Pro for their high-end desktops, Go for their laptop, and Whoa for the iMac is something you've never seen before. So how did it go? Well, the iMac is attributed as being pretty much the single thing Apple did that contributed most to its turnaround right before it died. It actually became the fastest selling personal computer of all time back in the late 90s. So this was the turnaround moment for Apple. And the product looked cool, but it was still a PC, you know, still a computer, just like all the ones they had sold before that were just as complicated, but they simplified some things and got the right message out there. This works. We've seen it done before. This built a bridge for regular people to get on the internet. The #1 purchaser of these computers were first-time computer users, had never had one in their home before. So it worked. They reached the mainstream. And I think we can learn a lot from that today. We need to stop talking about the tech and start talking about how is it actually valuable to me, and what are the things I need to do to get what I want from it. So a real-world example from today and a past example, and there's a lot more we can mine in terms of insights from that era where we were transitioning from pre-internet to post-internet. But I want to leave you with 3 frameworks about this for communications in the AI era to summarize some of what we talked about here. So framework #1 to remember is about cutting through the hype to the brass tacks. We all see the hype out there. AI is going to revolutionize everything. It's going to 10x your productivity, unlimited possibilities. It's magical. But we need a brass tacks approach, getting way more specific, way more down to earth where the rubber meets the road. Here's what it can do for you right now. Here's one specific thing, not go out and explore. Oh, you got to try ChatGPT. It's amazing. But what can I use it for? Anything you want. Just, tell it what you want. Ask a question. Well, I don't really understand that. No, you got to get way more specific about that. You need to spark a specific light bulb moment for people where they suddenly see, oh, I can use it to do that specific thing I care about. Boom. All of a sudden, a whole new world opens up for them. This is exactly what we did at Covestro. We tell people, not that AI is the future and you got to use it, it's relevant for anything you do. We say, you know what? Cova is going to help you perform a data analysis in 8 minutes instead of 8 hours. That's a real use case that we use at Covestro. That's actually what people do. Turn your ideas into presentations in 4 minutes or less. This is literally a demo that I do for people all the time. I get the clock up and I show it 4 minutes. We're going to take this idea and have it turn into a PowerPoint presentation you can download ready to share with your team. So I give them recipes. This is what it's about. Giving folks recipes at this stage of technology adoption is super important. And in fact, that's what turned me around, because I started out as an AI skeptic. When ChatGPT came onto the market, it was right on the heels of NFTs and all the hype around blockchain, and I was just not having it and not interested in it. And it took someone actually forcing me to use it to start to realize the value, because I was a skeptic originally. I thought, this is too good to be true. I'm sick of hearing all the hype about it, like all this other tech. I started becoming a dabbler, and then I had my light bulb moment when a friend sat me down and said, look, I'm tired of you not using AI. I know you're gonna love it. You love technology. Try this one thing out. And he knew I was building a strategy. He said, here's how you can use it for strategy. And I did it. My entire career flashed before my eyes. And I was like, wow, what would have been possible if I had this from day one? And that made me a believer, such that I totally changed my career to go focus on AI full time. So if I was skeptical as a guy with a technology background, imagine how the mainstream audience feels about this. We need to give folks that light bulb moment. Number 2 framework is the assistant mental model. A lot of concerns people have about technology, about AI. Do I have the skills to use it? What am I going to get out of it? Isn't it sometimes making mistakes? It's not perfect. Yes, totally. But as marketers, we need to get across the idea that you're working with an assistant. You're collaborating just like you would with a person. It's ready to help, eager to learn, needs context about your work. It's excellent at writing, analysis, summarization, brainstorming. But ultimately, you're still accountable for the output, just like you would be if you had hired an assistant to help you with your tasks. So get folks into that mindset. It's just communicating with someone that you're delegating tasks to. This mental model addresses all the concerns that I tend to hear as number 1 barriers, like we talked about. Isn't AI just being lazy or cheating? Well, my question to that is, delegating your work to a colleague or assistant, is that laziness? Is that cheating? Maybe sometimes. I don't know, probably not. Next one I hear is, well, how do I know it's right? How do I know AI is right? Well, like we were talking about earlier tonight, trust but verify. Trust that it's doing its best for you, but you need to verify the results. I make mistakes, my colleagues make mistakes, your assistant is gonna make mistakes sometimes. AI makes mistakes as well. And the sooner we get to know each other, same way you know the strengths of some of your teammates and some of their weaknesses, you need to know the strengths and weaknesses of AI as well. Is AI going to replace me? Well, the truth is maybe, but not right now, and not anytime soon. It seems like they've really run into a barrier with that. Right now, it's just making us a lot more effective because AI doesn't have judgment. It doesn't have expertise. It has information, and it can emulate like it has judgment and expertise. But what we see time and time again is that it really lacks it. And so it's a great tool as a companion to humans. It is not yet a replacement for us. And then lastly, like we talked about, I don't understand how it works. I hear that all the time. You don't need to understand it. You just need to know what they're good at. Same with an assistant. You don't need to understand what makes them tick underneath. You just need to know what they can do for you. What's their area of expertise? How can they help? And so with Framework 3, you have to keep in mind the different audience segments that we were talking about. The innovators, the pragmatists, the skeptics. These are your guides. You want to pay attention to them. They're going to help you make the most effective strategy here. The innovators are going to push the envelope. They're going to demand cutting-edge features and keep you relevant. They're really important, even though they might be misguided in how they try to market this technology. But they're going to help you find new breakthroughs that you can implement, keep you ahead of the curve, and all of that. They're also the ones that are going to identify valuable use cases to show to the pragmatists. Hey, pragmatists, here's 3 things our techies discovered might be really valuable for you. So you got to focus with them on what works right now with AI. What are those recipes that you can give them? And they're the ones that are going to drive most of your adoption. They make up most of the audience. But your skeptics, the hard to reach folks that hate AI or are just anti-AI in some way or holdouts refusing to use it, they have really powerful insights for you too. They're going to keep you honest. They're the first ones to question assumptions you've made, identify blind spots. They're going to help you identify risks you didn't think of. They're going to demand proof that ends up being valuable for showing the value of AI. And they're going to protect you against overreach, trying to do too much and pushing things too far, too fast. Skeptics keep you honest. Pragmatists keep you grounded. And your innovators keep you relevant. So you want to listen to all 3 of those in that. But you, as the communications expert, are the bridge through all of this. You've got your technical teams who build these AI technologies. You've got the end users who can benefit from it. You can make yourself most valuable and relevant in the AI era by being able to speak enough of the technological language to be dangerous, but relate it in a way that entices people to see the value and try AI. And this is something we all learn how to do here. The AI folks aren't thinking about it today, but this is how you find those new opportunities or create those new opportunities as you enter the workforce and make your skills that you've cultivated here as relevant as possible in the AI era. Be the bridge. So, I want to pause here, and before I get into part 2 of this, because I focused on internal communications, what do you need to say to employees to drive adoption of AI? I want to talk about how the AI era is creating a gap between companies and the consumers they're trying to market to, or those agencies and brands out there. But I want to pause first and see questions on your mind about this so far, things you want to discuss.
Who are your clients? Who are your company's clients? Did I hear you say 20,000? You have a small.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Who are our clients?
Yeah.
They're some of the world's largest manufacturers of airplanes, even furniture. So we make coatings, adhesives, foams, plastics, all kinds of things that are could even be in the seats you're sitting in right now for making foam, furniture builders. Those are some of the big clients. There's a ton, and I honestly don't know a ton about who makes up our client base beyond that, beyond the broad industries. But coatings, adhesives, custom chemicals, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
So you said that we don't have to worry about AI replacing us
Yet.
yet. What do you think would need to happen for that to happen?
What would need to happen for us to be worried about AI replacing us? Well, first of all, the trust but verify situation would have to go away, where AI still makes a lot of mistakes. And the output, I don't know if you've ever had someone send you, maybe you're working on a team project, and they send you the output of AI as their part of the project. Does that ever happen to you before? Do you know right away that it came from AI? Can you tell?
It depends. Usually if you take it straight from there, yes.
Yeah, I can tell too. Yeah.
Not so much.
AI, if you can't even trust it to help you complete a project for school, it's probably not going to be, without applying your judgment. Like the right way to work with AI is have it help you get from 0 to step 1. I have nothing on this page. I need some ideas. Help prime my thinking, get me started, help me solve some problems, or help me brainstorm, and then apply your judgment with what AI provides you to synthesize something new and better, or accelerate the way you work. If we're at the stage where we can't even count on it for basics like helping us with our schoolwork, it's not going to replace us professionally at scale yet. Companies are trying, and in some cases they are, but we see companies like Microsoft replacing entire engineering departments because coders can now use AI to write code. Most of those companies that are doing that are regretting it because they're realizing what the difference between hype and practical application really is. Is it helpful for writing code? Yes. Is it at a place where it can replace all of our engineers? No. And in fact, writing code is one of the things that AI is most perfect at. And it's still not in a place where it's replacing. So it's really lacking judgment. It's really lacking the ability to gather context on its own. Once it can do that, once it has access, once it has the ability to do more than what we asked it to do, when it can use free will, for lack of a better term, to complete an assignment or accomplish a goal, then we should start worrying. And that's, if you want to learn more about that, look up agentic AI. This is AI who can act on its intentions and go out and perform tasks. It can control a web browser. It can make reservations for you. It can complete orders, buy things for you. It can control all kinds of systems without you telling it what to do. We're moving towards that. So I'm worried about it. We should all get to know AI as much as possible, prepare ourselves and make ourselves relevant in that era. But humanity's got some big questions to ask about what it is, what it means to be human in the AI era for sure, and how it's going to change our economy and culture. I don't have an easy answer for you on that, but once it can start performing action on our behalf and not require us to constantly correct it, then you should really start to worry. Another question in the tie.
Yeah, I really appreciate the talk so far, and I appreciate how you said we need to dial down the hype, the enthusiasm around AI. And I'm wondering, because there's also a second type of hype, which is the moral panic hype, right? The hype around deepfakes, misinformation, copyright, environmental issues. So how can kind of this process you explained to us help kind of dial down that temperature, or maybe empower employees to feel confident in their AI use, that they're not also, like draining Lake Superior of water? Because we're hearing things in the media, on every day in the New York Times is an article about how
Totally.
AI will enhance my productivity and how it's killing the universe.
Yes,
Right. So
and killing creativity.
right?
Yeah.
So I feel those are two very different sets of anxieties
Yeah.
for not just for skeptics, but maybe even for the middle users, the middle adapters. So how do we talk to folks about that kind of moral and ethical side of the hype, rather than just like the rah
Yeah.
productivity side of that?
I'm going to say the answer to most questions like that is the middle path. Be the pragmatist. Ask the questions of, well, what is actually happening right now? You're saying it's destroying the planet and consuming all this energy. Show me what are the numbers? Is that true? And to what degree is it true? Same thing with replacing jobs. All the hype about that, but when you actually look at the studies about what's happening, is the companies that are trying to replace jobs with AI, a lot of times are regretting it and undoing the decision. And some have yet to pay the price yet and haven't undone it yet, but they're trying to, right? So part of it is just grounding us in, well, what has actually happened and what is happening? So being more pragmatic. Where's the rubber meet the road on this? Because there's so much hype. But you raise an issue that I think is true in our society in general right now, which is the lack of nuance. Everyone wants everything amplified because we want to game the algorithm in social media to get as many views as possible, whether we're a news outlet trying to put our content online, or whether we're an influencer trying to get as many views and follows as possible and subscribers to our YouTube channel. We have an algorithm in our society now that is changing the way we communicate to really reward exaggeration and hype. And if anyone here has an answer to how we undo that, I'd love to hear it, and I think the whole world would love to hear it, because I think this is a problem we face as a society in general right now that there's no easy answer to. What I said, be pragmatic, great, but the pragmatic story doesn't work in an algorithmic society where all of our information is controlled by a couple of tech companies that influence everything that comes into our attention through the little devices we carry around, right? So I don't know how to win that war. I wish I did. I wish there was an easy answer to that. That's a great question, and we should keep asking. Question behind you.
I feel like it's really great right now with like applying to jobs. I'm a senior, so I'm looking at like entry level, and like in interviews, like no AI, but like you need to know how to use AI. And like in my summer internship, I used AI for everything. Like my supervisors like use AI. So it's like so contradictory, because like I use AI for everything. They need you to know that you can use it, but they it's like don't say it. It's so weird.
There is a tension. So when I started teaching here, I would ask, on day one, how are you all using AI? Tell me about your experiences with it. Folks were really gun shy to talk about it. There's a little bit of fear. And actually, I see this in the workplace as well. A lot of people use it but don't like talking about it. They're worried that it's cheating. They're worried that it's laziness. They're worried that it's going to get them in trouble, or I'm going to view their work or their expertise differently, maybe think less of them for using it. And certainly in academia, right, there's been a lot of drama and hand-wringing about this because professors have been turned into AI police, and we have this amazing tool that makes it easy to get work done, and we all have too much on our plates as students, right? So it seems like an easy way to do it. What's that path that's actually valuable there? What I tell folks is you can use AI for anything you want in this class, but if you can't explain the work, because in my class, everyone has to present their work and share their work and explain it. If you can't explain it, then we have a problem. And that means you're not actually doing the work. You're relying on AI. You're outsourcing your thinking and your judgment. And we're here to refine our thinking, develop expertise, develop judgment by what we study. So we can't outsource those things to AI. AI can help accelerate the way we work, help us break through certain problems or challenges, create some efficiency. But here, you can't outsource that stuff. And saying that to an employer, I think, is valuable. Talking about, I use AI to augment or accelerate the way I work. I don't just take stuff out of it verbatim. That's a huge problem right now. You can't do that. But here are the 3 specific ways I use it. And being able to talk about those stories, that's going to make you super valuable, because most of the time, the person on the other end is still grappling with their basic understanding of AI. And they're probably learning something from you by you sharing the ways that you're using it and finding success with it. It's one of the most marketable things you can do right now is just have 1 to 3 examples of how you found a really smart way of working with AI. People will eat that up. Did that answer your question? Great. I see another question over here somewhere. Other questions? Yes.
I was just wondering, kind of going off of your recommendation for us to have good examples of how we use it, is there anything that you think we could be doing as it continues to develop, like to help us learn better and like learn the ways to use it as more of an assistant than like basically ways to use it that are like for good and like are things we can use as examples versus just like inputting assignments into and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is like what it comes off as sometimes.
Right. So a specific way to address that, where you're not just giving it the assignment saying, do this for me, right? That's what you're saying. Like, how do I use it in a way that's actually valuable and ethical versus just telling it, hey, here's my assignment, come up with a response. It's to talk to it as if you have a partner on the assignment. Hey, here's you missed class. Here's what the professor asked me to do. And here's how I'm thinking about addressing it, or how I think we should challenge it. What do you think about it? Have a discussion with it about the work, rather than just telling it, here's the assignment, go do it. Here's what I've been told to do. Here are my rough notes or ideas about what I think I want to do about it. What do you think about this approach? Or do you have any suggestions? Beginning a conversation as if you have a thought partner in doing it is a really helpful way to do it. Instead of treating it as a machine that you input something and just want the result you're going to take away, engage it. Have a discussion. If you have notes from class, put your notes in there and say, why don't you highlight some things from past lectures that might be relevant for me to help complete this assignment. Have it prime you. Have it ask you some questions so you can get your own thoughts embedded in there. Collaborate. I think that's the most important word, and that's the one I harp on the most at work, is collaborate with AI. It is not a slot machine where you put a coin in, pull it, and money comes out. Although they don't really work like that, right? It's not as turnkey as put in a search term in Google and you get results and you're done and you walk away, right? AI is a collaboration tool. It's not outsourcing your work. Does that help? In fact, transcripts of meetings, if you're doing a team project, if you record and transcribe your meetings by maybe having Zoom open on one of your laptops, you all have Zoom accounts here, have it create the transcript for you, put that in AI, that's the best way possible to add another brain to your team when completing an assignment where it's up to speed on what you guys are thinking about, how you want to solve a problem, who agreed to do what. You've got an AI briefed at all times on what you're thinking and doing and discussing together. You can put in all your documents as you guys share stuff, and then you can ask it to help. Hey, do you think this is on track with what the professor wanted? What are our gaps? What are our blind spots? Asking it some critical questions to help you do a better job instead of just telling it to do the work for you once again. It's a good way to do that. Has anyone else discovered some specific ways they found to use AI that isn't just asking it to do the work for them? I'd love to hear an example or two. Yeah, over here.
Sometimes I'll ask it to get me like coupons to save before I check out.
Does it work?
Sometimes, yeah.
What do you use for that?
What do you mean?
Are you using ChatGPT or
Yeah,
Perplexity?
I'll just look at ChatGPT, like, I'm shopping at X, Y, and Z.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I haven't done that. Over here, yes.
In your class, we did like target interviews with
like an AI audience. So like even though we're completing the assignment, we use the AI audience to help us like do the insight and like kind of refine our strategy statement.
Right, so in my class, I teach folks how to build a target audience simulator using AI, where you take your audience research, you plug it into ChatGPT or your AI of choice, and then you conduct a one-on-one interview with your target audience where ChatGPT role plays your audience based on all your research. And it does a frighteningly good job. I had some students take me aside and say, hey, I think something's wrong. These answers are like freaking me out. Why are they freaking you out? Like, well, I kind of based my target audience profile on my father, and it's answering just like my dad would. It's crazy. And it said all these other deeper insights about its life. I'm like, it sounds like you're being a good strategist and asking the right questions to get to deeper emotional truths about your target audience. That's awesome. And so, that's a way to use AI in a way that isn't doing the work for you, but helping you build a strategy. That's a great one. Thanks for sharing that. Who here uses ChatGPT? Who uses Claude? Get out of town. Like 2 of you? No way. Okay. Perplexity. Who uses Perplexity? You all get a free account at Perplexity if you're a Penn State student. Free pro account. It's free to use. But there's a pro account you can get just using your Penn State ID. Perplexity. Does anyone know? Who wants to talk about what Perplexity is? Can someone tell us what Perplexity is? Yes, Lee.
I don't love it because it doesn't pay publishers, and I see it as a potential major disruptor to the kind of internet economy. So I understand it's got great functionality. I haven't been using it regularly for that reason.
Okay.
So let's figure out how to monetize it when it pays publishers.
Yeah, and that's probably just one of many lawsuits that are going on around right now with publishers and media outlets against these AI companies, for sure. Perplexity is one of the worst offenders, for sure. Lucy?
I was gonna say it's a chat GPT that always uses sources, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it has a deep research tool that can do a whole deep dive report for you in 3 minutes.
Yeah, so this is really important. I see people make this mistake with ChatGPT all the time. They use ChatGPT almost as like an interactive Wikipedia for all human knowledge. I want an answer to a question. I want information. I want research. And they ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT, it does not have accurate, precise, encyclopedic knowledge of all things about humanity. This is where it makes some of its biggest mistakes, in fact. It is not the tool for that. Perplexity is the tool for that. Whether it's research you want to do about topics in the past, or finding deals, or any kind of real-time information that there's an accurate ground truth about. Use Perplexity, perplexity.ai. This tool partners AI thinking with basically Google search, where when you ask a question or type in an assignment, it will go out and do a whole bunch of searches, review all the results, find the ones that are relevant to completing your task, and then craft its answer to you. And like Lucy was saying, give attribution for all the sources that you can click on and go directly back to the report or the website or the article that it found to inform its answer. This is how you get actually accurate, real-time, factual information from AI. Stop using ChatGPT for that. Start using Perplexity for that. Or tell ChatGPT to use its research mode, which isn't as good, but it's decent. Yeah.
The name of my lecture series is PR, Ethics and PR. And can you tell me about any ethical issues that you've had to deal with and how you dealt with them?
Yeah. So a lot of big stuff comes up around this. One of the big issues is that these AI companies, as they try to build smarter and smarter AI models, they actually, so to build these models, they have to train the AI on human information. They grab it from the web, they take it from publishers. New York Times, big famous lawsuit against a number of the AI companies was because they used their historical archive to train their AI on this. Well, one of the arguments the AI companies made about this was like, but isn't this publicly available information that any human can read and learn from? What's the difference between AI studying and learning from this information and a human? And fundamentally, the difference was profit motive. A human, it might help them in their career, but they're not doing it to please investors and market a global product, whereas AI companies are consuming this information to make a more valuable product that's making billions of dollars. Well, it's actually losing a lot of money still, but generating a lot of revenue, let's say. So that's one part of it, is that they go out and they train off of any information they can get. And they're finding that information through ethical means and unethical means. And there's a ton of lawsuits about this. The other thing they do is they train off of your information. Did anyone see the announcement about LinkedIn and how it's using your information to train its AI? If any of you have used LinkedIn in the past month, you had to accept new terms and conditions of use, which included giving LinkedIn permission to take everything you've ever put on LinkedIn and your entire professional network and your connections and your messages and all of that metadata and use it to train its AI. And it tucks it away in this long agreement to use the tool, like all the technology companies do, which no one reads. And if you're busy, you're just going to click agree and go about your business, right? So they're trying to sneak this past us. Adobe did the same thing last year. Adobe makes powerful creative tools for the world's creators. They updated their terms of service last year to say, we're going to train our AI models on the stuff you create in our tools. And so this question comes up at my company, where people ask all the time, is COVA, our AI tool, being trained on the information we put into COVA? Because they'll say to me, well, I put confidential stuff in there all the time. I'm a manager of people, and I sometimes share challenges and performance issues about my employees with COVA. Are you reading that? Are we training on it? Are other people in the company going to see this? Also, COVA can connect to your email and read all of your messages sent and received. Is it learning from that? Is it stealing that? What about my client's information? What about when a client emails me? Are we training our systems on everything our clients send us? That's a huge risk, and it's unethical. So the short answer is we built it to not train off of that. In fact, the reason we built COVA is to put a firewall between our information and our clients' information and these AI tools. So, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Claude from Anthropic, they're not getting any of our proprietary data or our confidential data, and they're not able to train off of it. It's a strength and it's a trade-off we made, right? It would be a lot better if we allowed the AI models to be trained off of our company information and our employee information, because it would give it immense instant intelligence about everything we do and who we are and what we need and what we want. And political dynamics that get discussed, right? All kinds of sensitive information, market information, all those kinds of things. That would make the tools a lot better and more productive for us, but we don't do it. It's not ethical. In some cases, it's not legal. And our clients would hate us if we did it too. And our employees aren't comfortable with it either, which is why one of the things we did, I said COVA can connect to your email, read your messages, or connect to your calendar as well. We don't automatically do that. One of the things we put in place, even though it adds friction and makes it harder to use, people have to agree to give COVA permission to access those things. And we say it very explicitly. We don't hide it like the other technology companies do. We put a message, hey, do you want COVA to be able to see your messages? Here's the following things it will be able to see. Here's what it can do for you in terms of actions it can perform with that information. And here's what it can't do. So we try to create as much transparency as possible with employees so they know exactly what they're getting themselves into when they use our tools, what is shared, what is not, what is trained on, what is not, and what information do we have access to from them. And that's gone over really well, in particular with the segment of our audience I was talking about called the skeptics, who have a high wall up where they're very resistant to AI. And a lot of it comes down to trust and the ethics of what we're doing. And the more transparent we can be with them, the more that wall comes down with them, is what we've seen. And it makes sense. And that's why I said they're one of your most important guiding audiences, because they will keep you honest. They will hold you to a higher standard than any of the rest of the folks. So that's a long-winded answer that talks about what's going on in the marketplace with this, but also at home at Covestro and what we're doing about the ethical elements of that. Does that make sense? Cool. Well, I just yammered on to the point where we have 5 minutes left, so I'm not going to get into the last bit of this presentation that I had for you here today. I do want to open it up for some questions after I leave you with something I wanted to share. And we started talking about this a bit, being honest about challenges in the era of AI, which is that AI certainly has the potential to be as transformative to our society and our economy as the Industrial Revolution was, which touched almost all aspects of what it means to be a human, to be a part of society. It's a big change that's coming, and we've only seen the beginning of it. There's a lot more to come. This is probably going to be a bigger revolution in terms of changing our relationship to the idea of what it means to be a human being in the AI era. But while I'm worried about that, I'm also hopeful because humanity has proven itself to be, if nothing else, very resilient. So buckle up because there's going to be a lot of turbulence. We're already hearing about it, lots more to come. And so I encourage you to stay aware of what's going on with AI, make it your friend as much as possible so that you can stay as relevant as possible as we figure out how it's going to change the future and how we use it and integrate it into our lives. Use it responsibly. And remember to keep communications and ethics at the center. Communications in particular, what you guys do adds a lot of value even in this era. So I hope this was helpful for you all. I wanted to share some perspective that hopefully cut through the hype a bit and give you some pragmatic ideas about what's going on and how you can make yourselves relevant today. Thanks so much for coming, and thank you so much for having me.